Hello YouTube! Today in the Naughty Librarian we are going to go over the best books I read in 2017. Small disclaimer, these are just the best books that I personally read in 2017. Not all of these came out in 2017. There are a wide variety of years that these were released, but this is my channel and I'm going to do what I read this year. Okay, let's just get into the great books. First up, I have Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. Obviously, I'm going to love this because I've loved everything that John Green writes. And it's pretty much kind of typical John Green where you have fun characters, there's kooky situations, and then there's like that bittersweet ending because you just can't have a happy ending now, can you, John Green? You just have to have them be bittersweet. And I get it, it's poignant, but like, I just like happy endings, but still, it's still poignant, and it was really, really good, and I highly recommend it. Next up, I have Dating You, Hating You by Christina Lauren, and this one was a little bit of a polarizing book for some because it felt a little different than the normal writing style for Christina Lauren, and a lot of people were like a little put off by it, but personally, I thought it still had all of their charm and their wit, and the only thing that was different is that it had less smut in it and people were upset that someone fucked with their porn. However, it's a great, great book. Carter is like one of my all-time favorite book boyfriends. He's so great. So highly recommend if you're in the mood for a great romantic comedy. So speaking of romantic comedies, the next great book is The Nerdy and the Dirty by B.T. Gottfried. This was a surprise hit. I'm gonna say it. It is a book by a male author that explores teenage sexuality, in particular female teenage sexuality. So I went in thinking, I'm like, what does this bozo know? He's some dude. Surprisingly, he knows a lot because it's so spot on, and maybe I'm not in the same situations that these characters are in, but there's so much about their story that is so like both hilariously and heartbreakingly familiar that you can just immediately identify with. He fully like understands the formative awkward years of teenagedom where you're just a ball of raging hormones. There are so few books out there that bother to explore teenage sexuality because usually it's just PG rated where maybe sex happens but they don't really go into any detail. So this one does go into a bit more detail than I was expecting. It's rather explicit, but I mean, have you met teenagers? They fuck each other a lot. Next up, I have Defy the Stars by Claudia Gray. Holy smokes, this one blew me away. Honestly, I went in just because I accidentally met the author and I got this signed, so I was like, well, I guess I should read it. So I did, and I was so happy I did because it is so amazing. The characters are so complex, and it's a sci-fi. There's multiple different planets, there's robots, everything you can want, and the sequel actually comes out in 2018, so I am super excited. Next up, I have The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. Holy smokes, you guys. This is one of the best books I have ever read. I was so surprised because it's a historical novel with zero magic in it. In fact, it's a historical male-male romance. So going in, I didn't know what to think, and I was so pleasantly surprised by how hysterically funny it was. And even though it took place in the past and, you know, that setting is very different than today's setting, a lot of the struggles and the coming of age drama that these characters go through still resonates in today's audience. There's something timeless about these characters. I also recommend if you're looking for something inclusive because, like I said, this is a male-male romance. There's also people of different ethnicities in this. Highly recommend. It was so kick-ass. Next up, I'm just gonna say both of them. Both Nevernight and God's Grave by Jay Kristoff. Oh my gosh, where have they been all my life? I love them so much. They're so good. I'm so excited the third book comes out in 2018. But I digress. Here's the gist of this series, the best that I could describe. Essentially, Monty Python and Kill Bill made a baby and then they sent it to Hogwarts for murder. So that's basically Nevernight, and then you go to God's Grave, the sequel, and it's basically that murder baby has graduated and became a gladiator. So I mean, everything's awesome in both of these. I so recommend checking them out. They're so great. Again, another series. I have And I Darken and Now I Rise, both by Kirsten White, book 1 and book 2 of her Conqueror series. And oh my gosh, you guys, they're so juicy. I love them. I love them so much. This is kind of historical fiction based on historical fact, and essentially it's a story of Vlad Dracul, except Vlad is a girl, and it is so awesome, and it's very historically accurate, but basically we're seeing the dramatized version, and the characters are so complex and awesome, and I cannot wait for the third book, which I believe also comes out in 2018, so highly anticipated read. I think this is the biggest thing I learned in 2017, is that I actually do not dislike historical books like I always say I do, because I've read so many historical books this year and I freaking loved all of them pretty much. So I think this is like something I need to reevaluate in 2018. The next awesome book was King's Cage by Victoria Aveyard. This is book 3 in the Red Queen series, and I love the Red Queen series. It's so great. All the characters are great. I really love the world that it exists in, and yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. Everyone knows about this series. It's amazing. So I really loved King's Cage, and I cannot wait for Warstorm. Book 4, I think comes out in May? Okay, I checked. It comes out in May. Totally comes out in May. I'm so excited for it. Again, another anticipated read for 2018. The final book comes out. I guess this video is more so like my favorite books of 2017 and then all the shit I'm gonna read next year. Another great book I read this year was The Burning World by Isaac Marion. And this is actually a sequel to Warm Bodies. It basically is kind of a zombie romance, which does not sound appealing. It sounds gross. However, it is incredibly well written. It's so bleak that it's poetic. Like, ugh, I love it. It's so dark. It's so beautifully dark. That's the best way to describe it. Also, there's zombies. Like, who doesn't like zombies? Amazing series. I highly recommend checking it out. I don't think enough people have. Okay, I just want to go over a few new authors I discovered this year. They're not necessarily debut authors. They're just new authors to me because this is the year where I finally started reading their stuff. First off, I have J.C. Burton, and she writes the Play-by-Play series. It's kind of a sports-related contemporary romance series. And you guys, this is some of the best smut I've ever read. It's so good. You're just like, woo, that is some smutty delights. That's how you feel when you're reading it. But yeah, they're like basically romantic comedies. They're contemporaries. None of the stories are going to be really anything that's reinventing the wheel, but that's not why we're reading them. We're reading them purely for smut, and it is excellent smut, so I recommend. Another new author I found this year was Keira Thomas, and I read both of her books, The Darkest Corners and Little Monsters. Oh my gosh, you guys, she writes such juicy thrillers. They are YA, but I feel like adults would like them just as much because it's not necessarily, you don't feel like these are children. Like, these are kind of dark psychological thrillers, and they're always mysteries, and you don't, like, I cannot pick her killers. They're genuinely mysterious. I can't peg the killer like I usually can right away. Both books completely took me by surprise. They're so juicy. They're juicy mysteries. I love them. You guys should check these out. Another new author I found was Ilona Andrews, and in particular her Hidden Legacy series, because I read the whole thing this year, and each book is even better than the last. Amazing heroine, amazing characters. They're so funny. Nevada, our heroine, is a private detective, and she has superpowers because basically in this world, magic is real, so it's very much a real world setting, but like with a twist, and it's great. If you're looking for something action-packed and a little smutty sometimes, and there's some romance, and there's a kick-ass female lead, like, this is a series for you. It's amazeballs. The last new author I started this year was Sherrilyn Kenyon. Obviously, she is not a new author. She has been writing for long time, but I never picked up her Dark Hunter series till this year, and I read so many of the Dark Hunter books, like so many of them all this year, and I love them. I just picked out 4 of my favorites because I have like almost all of them. They're so funny, and the characters are great, and there's a lot of action because, you know, it's like paranormal, so there's like demons and vampires and all kinds of cool stuff in here. Totally love them. I recommend checking them out. They are smuttily delightful and have lots of paranormal thrills. Another new author I found was Jessica Lemon, and I read her pretty much entire Real Love series. I think there's another book also coming out in 2018 for this series. But I read the first 3, and you guys, they are amazingly, smuttily, comedically delightful. I've talked about her books in like so many different videos, so just check them out, they're great. This last one is actually a debut author, and this is Nyxia by Scott Rengen, and blew me away. I could not believe this guy was a debut author. Amazing. It's a really interesting, juicy character study. It's also in the future, in space. It's kind of like space school battle royale with this substance that can be anything, and they're mining it, and then there's aliens. I can't even describe it. It's just amazing, and I highly recommend checking it out. Alright, that does it for all of the best books I read in 2017, and also my new authors list. Please let me know in the comments down below if you have read any of these books, which ones are your favorites, which ones are your least favorites. I want to know what you think down below. Also, let me know what your favorite books of 2017 are. Maybe you have some different ones that are on my list, maybe we agree. I want to know. Please comment down below. Alright, that's all for now. If you liked this video, make sure you give it a like, and if you would like to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And I will see you guys soon.